back to Morgan Hasn't Seen, and the singing is a little bit jazzier today for some reason. Why is it jazzy, Jeannine? Can you answer that?
No. Are you in a jazzy mood today?
I must be in a jazzy mood today, which makes absolutely zero sense, because we are still talking about the Fast and the Furious movies, which do not incorporate jazz in any way at all.
That would be accurate, Morgan.
It's very accurate. Hi, Jeannine.
Hello, Morgan.
It's another episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen. I am Morgan, I haven't seen things. You are Jeannine, and you force me to see things. We are in our second episode of the Fast and Furious series 4 of the show that we're doing. And this week, we're talking about Tokyo Drift
Yes.
and Fast and Furious,
Which I guess
is
is
number 4.
fourth one. Even though, we will get into the oddities of this timeline at some point. But yes.
Yeah. So, first off, let's get right into it.
The Fast
Because
and
I
the
think
Furious, Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from the first two, and for those who listened to last week's episode, talking about the first two Fast and Furious movies, will know this, is I was very pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed them. And I'm kind of happy about that, because I was dreading the whole thing.
You were miserable. You were expecting torture. So coming away with actually kind of liking them was very satisfactory for me. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, so we're moving on. And I was happy to watch more. I was excited to watch more. And then, and then I watched Tokyo Drift.
So, was it what you expected?
Well, in the sense that it was certainly a weaker movie, because I had heard from enough people that Tokyo Drift's a little bit weird and on the side and doesn't really fit and everything like that. And it definitely feels like that.
But it's really funny. The thing about Tokyo Drift is it's kind of separate and standalone, yet it's what spawned the whole connection of the universe.
Which is weird.
It's so kind of farthest out of the other ones, but yet that's what's kind of holding this series together, this universe.
Well, I mean, ultimately, it's only the end scene that kind of holds it all.
No, but I mean, the whole connectivity of the universe and creating a Fast and Furious universe came with bringing back Han, who was in this movie.
Yeah. And I mean, it's very strange in that sense. I didn't particularly like Tokyo Drift, which is a shame after enjoying the first two. Perhaps it is because it is so far,
Removed.
It feels very separate. Yeah,
which I think
it's far removed.
I think there was a plan to do like different Fast and Furiouses in like different places, with kind of standalone characters that weren't connected to anything. And then I think once Vin Diesel became involved again in producing, that's when he decided to kind of connect everything together and make this universe. So I think maybe that's why it's so separate, because I think I remember reading something that there was a plan to do a bunch of different standalone kind of Fast and Furious things. But with the return of Vin Diesel, he wanted to connect everything together and make it one whole big universe.
Well, I mean, I kind of really appreciate Vin Diesel for doing that, because Tokyo Drift really didn't kind of grab me as much as the first two did, and maybe it is missing those real key sort of recognisable Fast and Furious faces or it's got a certain different style to it as well, and I get that it's the first movie that Justin Lin directed in the whole franchise,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
he's like the Fast and Furious
Yeah,
guy.
he's directed like some of the favorites. Like 5 is everyone's favorite, and he was responsible for that. And I remember you mentioning to me that you kind of expected, because of the last couple that have come out were very team oriented and
Yeah,
team based, that you expected all of the movies to kind of be like that, to have a big team coming together. And
yeah, and maybe it's just my since I don't know, I guess since I really really got into movies, the Fast and Furious movies have always had big teams, because that's maybe like the first. I wasn't sort of aware of the Fast and Furious movies, and I always say, I've said it before, I wasn't really sort of the biggest movie child, as opposed, like a lot of people were, a lot of friends were, a lot of people we know grew up with movies, right? They were watching movies constantly from the age of like 7, all through. I had to teach myself a lot of movies when I was like 14 plus. So at that point, maybe the Fast and Furious was already, at least number 4 had come out,
yeah,
which
and that
feels
was the first
very
one,
much like a
really.
Fast and Furious
And
movie.
that was the first one that really did the big stunts. That's when you start seeing that stuff,
Yeah.
and the big kind of team up situations. So I can understand
Yeah.
that that's why you would just kind of assume all the movies were like that.
Exactly. In my own movie world, the Fast and Furious always was teams of people with Vin Diesel in it.
And then you were kind of
And then,
blindsided to discover that, yeah,
no,
that
that's not
really
the
wasn't
case
the
at all.
case. Yeah,
Um, so I'm not going to say it's disappointing, but it's just completely different to what I
was expecting.
actually thought the Fast and Furious movies were. And obviously we'll get into, by the time we get on to talking about 5, 6, 7, and 8, it will kind of very much be like, okay, yeah, this is what I thought all along, yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point I'll probably be really into it, as opposed to dreading it like I was
Like you were
at
this
the
whole
beginning.
time. Well, I'm glad we can subvert expectations thus far.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But another weird thing about Tokyo Drift is that I felt like, I don't know, maybe this is me being, I don't know, read into this what you want. I thought it would have like way more Japanese people in it. Like, why is the lead guy a white guy and his sidekick a black guy? This is in Tokyo.
I think they're trying to do a fish out of water story. And I think they wanted to, I think there has been kind of a trend of having like a rapper in every movie. The first one had Ja Rule. The second one had
Who
Ludacris.
you do not like, by the way. You do not like
I hate
Ja
Ja Rule.
Rule.
I don't like his music. I don't like his voice. I hate when he tries to sing. Oh my god, it's terrible. Yeah, I'm not a fan. All his songs in that first movie were like, no, no.
And they all say Ja Rule in them.
Yeah, no. No thanks. But yes, there
No.
is a rapper trend in these movies. So, yeah. And I think they needed somebody that like could speak mostly English for the audience, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, it makes sense for the movie. It doesn't, freak you out in the movie. The story, it makes sense. It all makes sense. I don't know. Again, this is all about kind of me discovering the stuff that I actually thought about these movies isn't actually true. That has been the case with every movie we've done on the whole show. It's just like,
And that is the goal. That is my goal. You think I sometimes try to torture you, but it's actually trying to, expand your horizons a bit and maybe show you things aren't what you always expected them to be. So I appreciate that you're open to this and you're actually kind of enjoying yourself.
Do you not remember back near the start when we did the first Thor movie?
Yes.
And that was completely different to what I thought it was going to be.
Yes, you thought that was going to be like your number one top favorite.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case.
Point Break, I didn't even realise it had anything to do with the police.
And this one, you didn't know what the drift meant in Tokyo Drift.
Well, I know what drifting is in a car.
But in the title of the movie, you didn't expect that to be an element in the movie.
No, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I didn't think it'd be that in your face. But I just thought it was a cool name for racing in... Oh, it's in Japan. It's a racing movie in Japan. Tokyo Drift. Yeah, that sounds like a cool name. I didn't realise it would literally be about drifting.
Yeah.
It just seems very on the nose.
Well, sometimes they gotta dumb it down for us simpletons. I mean, it is just a silly car movie with, I guess, technically Vin Diesel.
Technically, Vin Diesel is in the movie, yeah, and that is my favourite part of it. It's always funny when people say, "What was your favourite part of the movie?" The ending. When it ended, because I didn't have to watch it anymore.
Yes. So I hope you focused...
Don't you just hate those people?
Yeah, they're the worst. They're the worst.
However, the ending was my favourite part of this movie because Vin Diesel was in it.
I hope you burned all those aspects into your memory because they will come into play in very interesting ways to kind of revise the story.
I'm also just kind of happy that Lucas Black is barely coming back. I mean, doesn't he come back at some point?
He comes back when you find out like what really happened to Han. They try to, and like this movie, mind you, where this happens is 6 years later than this movie, but yet it's supposed to take place at the end of this movie. So Lucas Black, who is now 6 years older than what he was supposed to be 17 in this movie. He's now 6 years older than his fake 17 because he was probably almost 30. At least he looked almost 30.
He looks at least 27.
Yeah. And he's supposed to be still 17 6 years later talking to Vin Diesel about what happened to Han. So that should be interesting for you to see him again. But yeah, I mean, he was not the most charismatic lead. Like, while Paul Walker, like I said, he's great, but he doesn't have like a super huge range. He's, decent at what he does, and he's very pretty. He was very pretty to look at. It works.
I can agree with that.
And he's super likable, and he has great chemistry with anyone pretty much he's on screen with. But Lucas Black was very just kind of bland. And
to put it simply, Lucas Black does not.
Yeah, basically the opposite of everything I just said. Yeah, his accent was a lot to take in.
There was maybe nothing about his character that I actually enjoyed, and it hurt the movie a lot because everything was focused on him. I was kind of, I mean, there was the whole sort of they had to go to school in Japan, and there was a little bit of a storyline about let's learn the Japanese school. Yeah. It's like,
because I think they wanted to play up that whole fish out of water aspect to kind of show why he was disliked and why he was different, and then to give him something to be, so that the girl who was also kind of seen as an outsider when she grew up there, so that they could have that kind of connection over being outsiders, because they use this whole word gaijin, which I guess is like a mixed person who doesn't really fit. And she talked about how she was called that all the time as a child, because I guess her mom was Australian, or her dad was Australian, or her mom was Japanese or whatever, so she was like mixed, and both her parents were gone, and she grew up with like the bad guy's grandmother, and people called her that. So I feel like they just did a lot of that so they could kind of try to develop this whole romantic part of the story, but I mean,
which was done so much better in the other movies.
Yeah, you don't really get invested in any of it. It's just kind of, okay.
No. It's it's a funny movie really to talk about because it is kind of a lot of, yeah, I mean, the same sort of stuff's in here, but it's not as good as what's being done in the other movies. Why are they trying to change it up this much? Why does it feel so separate?
Because
There's a lot of that.
yeah.
There's a lot of, or at least I was just thinking sort of that sort of stuff
Which again
over
is
and
just
over while
yeah.
I was
Which is
watching
again
it.
is so funny to me why like they've done so much to include this movie in building this universe when it's kind of the most separate one and kind of the weakest one. But yet it's the one that they kind of dug into and changed to fit the other movies. I guess that's why
Yeah.
maybe that's why this is kind of like the basis for the universe. It's because it's so separate that they had to kind of make up things to make it fit with everything else.
Yeah, otherwise it could literally just
Yeah.
be a random racing movie.
So as you'll see, I give it plenty of credit for how they tried to make it fit with some of the changes they made. Like super creative, but mind you, very silly that I think at least two more movies after this one or three more movies after this one are supposed to take place before it. So,
So not only does it kind of take a step down from the first two, and the first two aren't masterpieces, but
no.
they're perfectly enjoyable.
Yes.
So not only does it take a step down from the first two, but it also screws up the timeline.
It does essentially because it's supposed to take place after a lot of things that happen and
After it,
like technology wise things don't match up, the way people look doesn't match up, like stuff like that. Like viewpoints, vantage points, like you're supposed to believe that the way Han died was a different way because somebody had some other involvement in it, and it's just like, okay, I guess you're just supposed to suspend disbelief and just be like, okay, I'll just go with
yeah,
it. Which, like, you enjoy the movies and you have fun with them, so you kind of can do that. And you really kind of appreciate, like, the lengths and creativity they go to try to make it fit. So it's kind of easy to give that stuff up. But, yeah, they really had
and
to work hard to make this movie fit in this universe and be a part of this universe.
yeah, and I mean obviously I'll probably recognise more of that once I watch, 5 and 6.
Yes.
So maybe my thoughts on Tokyo Drift will improve after seeing those movies, and that can be the case sometimes. You
Yeah,
can
it
always,
definitely helps you kind of like, oh, okay, I kind of like how they put that spin on this part of the movie. So you
yeah,
can kind of appreciate things more. It's still, for me, the weakest, of course. But yeah.
yeah. I mean now, yeah, it's fairly easy for me to say
So
that
far.
after having seen the first 4 now, and obviously we're gonna get on to talk about Fast and Furious in a little bit. Tokyo Drift is the weakest of the 4 I have seen so far, quite comfortably. Even though the stuff that I do like in the movie is the whole Yakuza stuff.
Oh.
I did like it. I liked that the Yakuza got involved because I'm always intrigued by the Yakuza,
Yeah, that was an
and
interesting
especially
element.
bring Sonny Chiba in there.
Yeah, when you saw his name, you're like, that's not the real Sonny Chiba. What's he doing
I
in
was
this
gonna say,
movie?
who's this? Is this
I'm
some
like,
sort of
no, I'm pretty
fake
sure
Sonny
it's him.
Chiba? And it
Hattori
is.
Hanzo himself. Yes.
Yes, it is him. So that was great. He was nice to see.
So it did add a more
Um,
sinister side story to the villain of this movie.
Definitely, and I mean, even the final race, I actually really enjoyed. Down the
But down,
mountain,
yeah,
all
everyone
obviously all
recording it
drifting
on
all
their
the
flip
time.
phones.
Yeah, which I'm not so sure that even the technology that they were kind of using on those flip phones was available on those kind of phones.
Once at the time.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it was quite a while ago, but pretty sure I don't remember that sort of stuff being available to do on. I mean, yeah, sure, you could video things, Didn't look that good
Yeah, but
quality
were they
though,
great
and you
quality?
certainly
Yeah.
couldn't use some sort of GPS system on your phone
To see where they're at in the race and all of this. Yeah.
in the mid 2000s. No,
Yeah. A little
wasn't a
suspect there.
thing.
But yeah, like you liked the racing, you liked the whole drift aspect.
Well, I like the final race.
Okay.
I just thought it was staged really well. I like the fact that it was on that mountain. I like the fact that it was this is his mountain, the villain's mountain, who I actually kind of forget the name of.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But it was his mountain. Nobody has ever, he's the only person that has ever not died racing on this mountain or whatever it was.
Yeah, he's the DK.
The Drift King, not the Donkey Kong.
Not Donkey Kong. Well,
just
DK
like it
stand
is,
for Donkey Kong.
Ridiculously over the top southern accent.
Which I'm pretty sure is real, because that's the accent he had as a little boy in Sling Blade. So.
Oh, look, I'm sure it's real, but it just doesn't. I mean, yet let's play the fish out of water card heavily
So hard, yeah.
by making him sound like the most country of country singers in the middle of Tokyo.
Gotta drive the point home.
Drive the point home hard. Shove it in your face. I don't care for things being shoved in people's faces in movies.
No, you do not.
Let's have some goddamn subtlety, please, Tokyo Drift.
Nope.
No. Okay.
So did you like the drifting, though? I mean, it's Tokyo Drift, so... Did you like that
sure, the
element?
drifting's cool. I wouldn't be able to drift in a car. I wouldn't know the first... I can't do that. I'm a perfectly good driver. I wouldn't know how to drift. I can't do that sort of stuff. So I'd give them credit for that.
But did you like what it added to the story? Like him having to learn how to drift, and then even at the end, him kind of making a hybrid of like an American car, but like mixing it with like those Japanese elements to make it a drifting car, but it's still like an American kind of muscle car.
Absolutely. No, I did like that.
Like I'm sure that was supposed to be some deeper metaphor for, East
God,
meets West
please,
and whatever.
Please don't
I don't
tell
know.
me it was.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking too deep into things, but the fish out of water is no longer
Jeannine,
out of water.
You might have hit the nail on the head. You might have hit the nail on the head right here with your potentially too deep analysis of Tokyo Drift. This movie might actually entirely be about East-West relations.
Possibly.
And it just maybe not executed particularly well. But no, I guess, yay for diversity.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously yay for diversity, but maybe not with this movie.
And
maybe not done in the best. But I did like that. I did like the fact that he
for the final race
had to learn. Yeah, had to learn how to drift. It was this learning process for him throughout the movie. I just think it could have been a whole lot better if the central actor was better.
Yes. So, what did you think of Han, who is actually this resurrected character who now returns and becomes kind of a decent part of the franchise until his demise?
Han is probably the most likable character in the movie, which I enjoy the fact that he is the one that sort of is the glue that holds everything together.
Yeah, he actually is.
Because he is the most likable character in the movie, I think. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, but technically it comes before because he died.
Yeah, so he is in 4, as you saw. He is in 5, and he is in 6. So then you kind of see that whole circle of how we get to this moment in this movie.
I'm just thankful at this current point in Fast and Furious timeline, because we're obviously doing this to coincide with Hobbs and Shaw being put out, and I know that Fast and Furious 9 is supposed to be coming out next year. I'm just thankful that we are still not before Tokyo Drift in the timeline, because that would be super weird.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some of the trailers for Hobbs and Shaw. They ain't using flip phones in that movie.
Hell no. They're grabbing helicopters with trucks and chains and yeah, all kinds of goodness.
Yeah, the noise is very appropriate, I think. But yeah, I mean that's all kind of positives that I can really say about Tokyo Drift, is that I liked the racing. I liked the fact that he had to learn how to drift, and the creation of the American car with the Japanese drifting parts to it, even though I understand nothing about car manufacture.
Well, speaking of
At
that,
all.
of cars,
Speaking of
your
cars,
favorite part of all of these movies has been how lovely you find these cars to be. So what did you think of the look of the cars in this movie,
I mean, they were
Morgan?
arguably worse. They were arguably worse
I
in this
mean,
movie,
did you
which I
like Bow
should have
Wow's car?
expected.
Bow Wow's car was a
No.
Hulk car. It even had like Hulk hair on it
The car had fists
and feet
and feet and a face.
and Hulk hair.
It looked like a car from Scooby-Doo.
And he was so proud of it.
He was, and I don't know why. I mean, I should have expected this. I should have expected the cars to look a bit stupider in this movie. I really should have. I just maybe wasn't prepared for the level of stupidity and ugliness. People actually like these cars. Truly. Do people truly like the look of some of these cars?
They do. But
I don't get it. I mean, I'm not a car expert. Maybe these cars are absolutely perfect. I don't know. I can only say my own thoughts. I much prefer. I actually liked the. I liked the car he used at the end. In the final race.
okay, and that like Mustang.
Yeah. Because, like you said, it's a muscle car. It's an American muscle car, and I like
safe
those
to say,
cars.
yeah, you do like the cars that Dominic Toretto prefers to drive.
I like those cars. I don't like the weird sports cars that look like aliens.
Or like,
And
like a Matchbox
bright
cars.
yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they look like. They look
Hot
like little
Wheels.
toy cars. They look like Hot Wheels. You don't get a muscle car. When was the last time you got a muscle car in your Hot Wheels pack? You don't. You always get the weird, stupid things that look like aliens
With the flames and whatnot.
with flames on them. I'm surprised there has not been a car with flames on the side of it yet.
That's what you were
And I don't think we're gonna get there.
Well,
Because
I think if I'm thinking about it correctly, like these movies, they do phase out into more actual, like, real crimes and real criminals, and
yeah,
as opposed to like petty street racing type stuff. So the cars do get more like realistic and not like silly, colorful, like early 2000s nonsense kind of stuff. I think they actually look like real cars. So if I remember correctly, but don't quote me on that because it's been a while
Jeannine,
since
I'm gonna say one word about that. Good. I'm glad about that.
So just some overall
Very strange.
thoughts on Tokyo Drift, just to kind of close out as we
Yeah,
move
before
into
we-
4.
Before we get into number 4, Fast and Furious. Tokyo Drift. Sadly, it's the weakest one. There is some stuff I enjoyed in it. Helped a lot by the extended cameo of Sonny Chiba, and the actual inclusion of some muscle cars, and the ending with Vin Diesel being all like, oh, he's actually come back, because as you told me he didn't kind of want to do any more after the first one.
Yeah, I think he read the script for the second one. He wasn't into it, and then he was just gonna do a cameo in this one. And then I think maybe working with Justin Lin, they decided to build this universe off of this. So, yeah.
Yeah, but as weird as it is to say, I really do like that ending. It is opening up the franchise.
Yeah, he says he knew Han, and
more
Han was
stuff.
family, and that's kind of where you get your
Han
little...
was family.
Yeah.
Of course he was. Thanks, Vin Diesel. Yeah, I wonder if... I honestly wonder if there has been a single word... Mind you, that's actually not true. Okay, let's call 2 words in Vin Diesel's whole career that he has read a script and said more than the words Groot and family. There hasn't. There's been no 2 words. The word I has not been used more than Groot and family in Vin Diesel's career. The word a or the or for has
I
not
don't
been
know
used.
that he was talking much about family in the Chronicles of Riddick.
Well, I haven't seen that movie. I don't know. I just think it's strange to me that I'm really enjoying this franchise.
See,
It's strange
that's why
to me.
you just gotta trust me. You just gotta trust me, Morgan.
Well, of course. I mean, yeah, I guess. And I was dreading. I was not trusting you at all.
You weren't.
Showing me the Fast and Furious. Now I guess I should be somewhat thankful.
You should be.
And we'll see how well we get on with 5, 6, 7, 8, Hobbs and Shaw.
And I told you you're gonna get some Game of Thrones actors popping up. So maybe that'll
which
sway
is always
you.
which is always nice.
Yes.
Which is always nice.
So let's talk about the 4th installment, Fast and Furious, which technically takes place before this movie, Tokyo Drift. Yeah, so this is kind of where you get your first super big stunt, where you get the team up elements, and where the timeline starts to expand into this universe. So what did you think of Fast and Furious? Drop all the thes.
Drop all the others, yeah. Okay, a bold statement straight away, which is always fun. It's always fun to do a bold statement straight away. This is my favourite so far, quite comfortably.
Okay, so I think that's good. That's positive. You are digging the team elements because that's what you're going to get a lot of going forward. The stunts and the teams, that's what these movies are known for from this point forward. So
I think that is what it is. I think the action gets a hell of a lot better. I don't know. Maybe Justin Lin worked really well with Vin Diesel, and they just collaborated well in terms of realizing what they actually wanted from this franchise.
I felt that in this movie particularly. What did you think of that big opening stunt of stealing the gas tanks?
And the Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez is back in the Dominican Republic. Yeah, I really like it. It's kind of the Fast and Furious movie I expected to see from the start of doing this, which is, I mean, expecting to see something doesn't necessarily mean it's a good movie. Like, the best movies can sometimes be completely not what you expect. And, if you go into a movie saying, I know this is going to happen in this movie, same with TV show, this is going to happen, or this is what I want to happen, and say if that does happen, you might be happy, but it might have been better if it didn't happen that way in terms of a story. But then some people think that because it didn't happen the way they wanted it to happen, it wasn't very good. And it gets really confusing and annoying. I bring up Star Wars The Last Jedi as the perfect example of that.
Oh, are you trying to get people to start fighting?
No, but it's the perfect example of that, right? It's the
Yes.
perfect example of people expecting things to happen, they didn't happen, and then they didn't like the movie because of it, even though it's a great movie and it furthers the story really well. Even though it's great.
And that's just one man's opinion, people.
It is one. It is. No, it is. Maybe. I mean, different people obviously have different types of feelings towards. I enjoy unexpected things.
Like liking this franchise thus far.
Like liking this franchise. Maybe I don't think highly enough of myself, in the sense that if I can predict what a movie or a TV show is going to do, it was a bit too simple, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe that's just me having a very low opinion of myself. I think that's probably the case, but I don't know. I can only speak from my own brain.
And we wouldn't have it any other way, Morgan.
I mean, we wouldn't. If I was speaking from somebody else's brain, you'd be quite concerned. I wouldn't have any... That'd be weird. That's making me have a crisis right now, and I don't want to have a crisis right now.
So let's continue talking about this movie so that you do not have a crisis. You had said...
I just wanted to say that about expectation.
Good.
And that I
Fair
like
point.
that it was... I actually like that I...
Didn't know what was going to happen.
It turned out to be unexpected.
Good.
Yeah, I like that it turned out to be unexpected. And even though what I expected from the franchise happened in this fourth movie, and the fact that I did like it the most, I think I only liked it the most because I liked the unexpectedness of the other ones. And I'm now drawn into the franchise.
And you want to
from
see
that.
what's to come and how they do this whole timeline shift and universe build. And
because it's this sort of stuff that I was dreading in the first place. Big, stupid action and ramblings about family.
But now that now that you've seen how they're going about it, it's far more interesting.
But now that I've seen how that... Exactly.
Yay.
Now that I've seen how they're going about it, now that I've seen that everybody involved realizes that it's a bit silly.
See, they always kind of do, and they just go with what's happening. Like,
then it all just makes sense now, and it all just works, and it's why I love doing this show, because it, does this sort of stuff to me.
Yes.
Whether it's unexpected or expected, and I may have a flubbering word crisis in the middle of each episode, but I'll get there eventually.
You do.
With what I'm trying to say. I guess.
Well, in the other movies, I remember you saying that you were kind of missing Vin Diesel. So you get your Vin Diesel back. How do you feel about that?
My Vin Diesel. I mean, why do I like Vin Diesel so much? I've never liked
You said
Vin
you
Diesel
were
myself.
after the first movie and you didn't see him. You said you were missing him. So now that you've got him back full on, how do you feel about that?
Maybe I just think he fits really well in these movies.
And you were just expecting to see him this whole time.
I was.
And you didn't expect to like him as much as you did in that first movie.
That is also true. And also he has the best car.
Yeah, his American muscle cars. So yeah, he's back. He's in hiding with his new crew and Letty, and they're doing this whole Robin Hood thing and stealing fuel for the people and making their money. And Han is back, so you see that Han was working with him before he went to Tokyo. And then once they do this
we get the really on the nose line of, I don't know, man.
Maybe I'll go check out Tokyo. Yeah.
To which I went, ugh.
But then it still takes him 3 more movies to get to Tokyo.
Oh God. I wonder if every movie.
He makes
5, 6, and 7.
You will see.
He just says,
maybe I'll get to Tokyo. I've been talking about going to Tokyo. Yeah. But yeah, so he's with his crew. You see them do this really cool heist at the beginning, which is actually really fun. And then they kind of part ways because there's a lot of heat on them. He's
Yeah.
worried about Letty getting mixed up into it, so he leaves. And then once he leaves to try to protect Letty, he gets word that Letty has been murdered. So then he has to get back into it, which through the process of him trying to figure out what happened to Letty, I was getting these weird Batman vibes. Like,
It was very Batman. It
that whole
felt
scene
like
of him like casing the scene of her murder and thinking about it and visualizing it, and then moments of him talking to somebody and then disappearing. Like, I was getting like these LA's greatest detective Batman Toretto. Like, I don't know.
Batman Toretto is, I think, something we all need.
Yeah.
That'd screw up all the Batman fans.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just
I was
put
just
Batman
getting
Toretto in there.
I don't know. I
no,
was getting these weird Batman vibes from things he was doing in this movie.
That particular scene absolutely felt like
World's greatest detective, Dominic Toretto, like, solving crimes. Like, what?
a mix of detective mode from the Batman video games,
Yeah.
the Arkham games, and like this weird augmented reality,
Like
weird Batman stuff. It
yeah,
was very
simulation.
Batman.
Yeah.
Simulation.
Not to say that I didn't like
unusual.
it. It just was giving me these weird, like, oh my god. Like, yeah, and then
Very,
like
very
somebody would be talking to
unusual.
him, and then he'd just show up, and then he'd be talking, and then he'd disappear. Like, okay. But yes. So you get
And even on Dominic Toretto's revenge tour that he goes on to try and actually figure out
what happened to Letty?
exactly what happened to Letty. That's very Batman. Doesn't he at one point hold someone over a balcony?
Yeah. Where were the
Which
other
is
drugs going? I was waiting for
straight
him
out
to
of the
shout,
Dark Knight.
Rachel! Letty! Like, I don't know. So people go back and watch Fast and Furious and see if you get these weird Batman vibes from Dominic Toretto. I think he was channeling a little bit. But
I mean,
yes.
The Dark Knight had come out the year previously.
That's true.
Maybe. I mean, Batman was on everybody's mind
Yes, that is true.
at that point. Mind you, when is Batman not on everybody's mind?
That is very true. I'm always thinking about the man. I'm always thinking
The
about
man.
B-Man.
Oh, hi Harley. How are you doing today? Is that all we're getting from Harley? We're getting no more
Yes,
Harley.
yes,
Sorry.
No more Harley.
Thought we were onto something there. We weren't.
Oh, is that going to be a new segment?
Yeah, Harley comes in and tells us how each movie corresponds to Batman in some way.
Okay, I'll work on it.
Okay. Okay.
But yes.
But yeah, I like that Paul Walker's back working with the LA police.
Yeah, so he's back
or
as a cop.
detectives
So
or whatever it is.
as you saw in 2, like they said, if he had helped with this whole crime thing, getting this drug lord taken down, he would get his record expunged, and it seems that he has, and he's able to be a cop again. And he is also kind of on the track of the people that Letty was working with when she got killed. So then that kind of has them crossing paths again. And Mia.
Yeah, him and Dom.
And Mia as well. His love interest is
Yeah.
back in there because
From
they're
the first one.
questioning her about where's your brother? Where is he? Stay away from him. And blah, 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 blah. So, yeah.
Mia Toretto, the forgettable love interest of the first movie, who's actually Dominic Toretto's sister and in all the movies.
She is. And her teeth somehow seem to get weirder and weirder every time. I didn't think there was anything wrong with her teeth. Maybe it's just me as a girl, but I don't know what she's done to her teeth. She got some weird chiclet veneers, and now she's got crazy big horse teeth. And it gets subsequently more noticeable as the movies progress. So, if you're somebody who notices ridiculous things like that, like me, look at her teeth. Those aren't her real teeth. It's just weird. Moving on.
I mean, I can't say I do notice things like that.
And I noticed her weird chiclet teeth that were a little bit too big for her mouth.
Does it take you out of the movie?
It doesn't, but it's just like when she's talking, I'm just looking at her teeth.
That's not very nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway.
Yes.
So
Anyway.
lots of reunions of characters.
Lots?
Well,
A lot. I
the three main leads, I guess. And we're
Yeah,
also
again.
introduced to Gal Gadot's character, Giselle, who will be popping up in future movies.
Oh yeah, sure. And I mean, obviously, I enjoy Gal Gadot. Just in general as a human being,
Yes.
she's great.
So this is kind of what most people knew her from before Wonder Woman, and that's where kind of all the
Yeah.
commentary came on. And she's too skinny to be, meh, 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 meh. But,
No, there is such thing as a gym.
yes. So I mean, I thought
go
this.
to
I had
gym.
similar thoughts that I remember seeing her in these movies, and she always seemed very thin to me. But she could bulk up just like any man does for a movie. So I had no problem.
And you know what,
with the
Jeannine?
choice. But that's
You
what
know
people.
She did.
And she did, and she was awesome. But
And
yeah,
she was.
so that's kind of where people really knew her from, was from these movies. So
Yeah, I mean, she fits right in perfectly with the vibe of them, and like I said, especially with this one, feeling a lot more like of what I thought a Fast and Furious movie was, with the kind of big action and these drug lords and
yeah.
heists and what have you.
So it has a similar premise kind of to 2 in the aspect that the whole racing aspects come from the premise of like running drugs for like a big crime boss and a cartel.
Yeah.
That
I still think it's funny how street racing is apparently everybody's favourite thing to do.
and like their way. It's like something that could totally get them caught as a crime on its own, but yet that's the most efficient way to like find people to run your drugs, I guess, just because see how fast you can go. If you can win a race, then you can drive my drugs where I need them to go across this secret tunnel under the Mexican border, whatever the Dominican, whatever the border was, that border. Yeah. In some secret hidden tunnel.
I just think it's funny. I just think it's funny how every drug lord apparently loves street racing.
And that's how they find the best people to run their drugs. But
So
then you also
naturally, Paul Walker Bryan has to get in there.
yes, because
in
he's
some sort
going
of-
undercover trying to figure out who this big drug lord is. So that's why he wants to infiltrate this whole scene. And Dom is trying to infiltrate it so he can find out what happened to Letty, because he knows that Letty was working with these people. Yeah.
And that is the whole big reunion of Paul Walker and Vin Diesel, which we've been waiting for, we've been clamouring for.
And you do get some
since-
nice little callbacks, actually.
You do. There's a
Yeah,
couple of
like-
nice little things.
The 10-second car, him calling him a buster. Like, yeah, and things like that.
Yeah. It's a nice friendship. I really like it.
Yeah, they have great chemistry.
And I can only... Obviously, it's the end of 7, where Paul Walker had passed away at that point, and you get the whole ride off into the sunset type deal, right? With that whole really annoying song playing over it that I hate so much.
Oh, wow.
And I do truly hate that song, though.
Would you have hated it if it wasn't so played out?
Maybe not.
Well, I'm going to have to send you the clip of Vin Diesel singing it.
Oh, no, you are not.
I believe it was like the MTV Movie Awards or something, and he had won an award, like him, or he was accepting an award on Paul's behalf because it was like a little bit after he died. And he gets
Yeah.
up to the podium to like accept the award, and then he starts singing the song with that deep, gruff voice, and it's just like, oh. I appreciate the sentiment. That's very sweet of you, but it's just,
Thanks, Vin.
yeah, thank you, buddy.
Wow, that is. No, but that's like at the end of 7, right?
7. So yeah,
So
they
their
didn't
whole-
actually kill him off. They just kind of made it that
Yeah.
he has a family now, and he's gonna go off and be with his family and stay out of this dangerous stuff. So they didn't want to like write him
Yeah.
completely off. They just or say that he died or whatever. So
Yeah. But that's ultimate. That's obviously the end of their friendship. I'm just talking about the friendship as being this really, really nice thing to sort of watch blossom, and they have their very clear ups and downs
and I believe
in
it's
this
been
movie as well.
I believe it's been about 5 years. I think they say between the events of the
Yes.
first one and them meeting back up now in Fast
Yeah.
and Furious.
I mean, there's enough punch outs and fights between Paul Walker and Vin Diesel in this movie to make you think that they're not friends at all and they actually hate each other. But then also they have dinner together and get all buddy and help each
at
other.
the family. But yeah, like I think the fight breaks out because he finds out that Paul actually was kind of using Letty to help infiltrate those people, and that's how
yeah.
she got killed.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which isn't good for Dom.
Yeah.
Dom's really mad about that. You don't want to make Vin Diesel mad. I would be terrified.
Yeah.
Truly.
But
no,
they work it all
I
out,
like it.
and they become
I also
a team
like
and
how-
work together, and
Yeah, I also like how this movie, you really kind of do get the impression that Dom really loves Letty.
yeah.
I actually kind of like Vin Diesel, the way Vin Diesel performs it. Because even though it's nothing overly special, I just think, again, maybe this is just Vin Diesel really realising what these movies are and what he wants to do. Maybe this is him taking the reins more, like you say.
Yes.
And
I mean,
just
he's going to
really-
do some completely ridiculous things that you're going to be maybe cringing slightly at. But I'm hoping maybe at that point you'll just be having fun with it. That, like, it's going to be like Con Air levels of just ridiculous that you're just going to laugh at it.
Okay, well, I like that, so that's fine.
So, yeah, Con Air level ridiculousness is going to ensue. And, yeah, it's just, you're just going to have to be like, oh my God, and just laugh.
Maybe it's fair for me to say that Fast and Furious is kind of the most. It seems, and I haven't seen 5, 6, 7, 8. But from what I can gather, 5, 6, 7, 8 get silly. Good silly, but silly.
Yes, they do.
So maybe 4 is this real perfect
Balance.
amalgamation and balance of silliness, Fast and Furious action, big stunts, family, Vin Diesel being Vin Diesel, and also an actual grounded story.
Yes, I think that is a very fair thing to say.
Maybe it's kind of that perfect balance, and maybe why I really kind of like it.
And
maybe
even five is kind of where it starts to. It still has its toes in a kind of real deeper story.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's kind of where things kind of go really bonkers. But you kind of really love it because it's great because you get to see pretty much everyone you've met so far in the whole franchise so far. So up from Tokyo Drift to now, like this is where, or from the first movie to now, you get to see pretty much everyone.
I think that's why I'm probably going to like 5 the best, especially if it keeps a little bit of the level of
Realness.
non-silliness of 4, the level of realness of 4, while still having the big over-the-top stuff that 4 still has.
Yes.
But that whole team, and I think I'm probably going to end up really enjoying
And
5.
add The Rock to that. Yeah.
And add The Rock to that, which everybody always says, The Rock changed the Fast and the Furious and made it into this billion-dollar franchise.
Which I'm sure
Which
that's why him
is
and Vin
kind of
Diesel
true.
do not get along now.
No.
Because he's like, this is my baby, and now this guy comes and he's more popular than me. What?
So The Rock has to go off and do his spin-off movies with Jason Statham.
And Tyrese is going to cry about it.
And Tyrese. I mean, we'll have to get into all that
yeah.
in the appropriate movie when that does happen.
Yes.
Because I remember seeing all that. Obviously, I had no context to what was going on.
But you will see. I mean, you liked Tyrese in 2, and he's actually really fun in the other ones. He's really funny. But yeah, I don't think anybody really wants to see a Roman Pierce movie. So we will get into sad Tyrese when the time is
Tyrese,
right. Yeah.
And angry Vin Diesel and angry Dwayne Johnson. Imagine an actual fight between those 2 human beings.
Well, you will see somewhat
a fake fight
in Fast 5.
Okay.
You'll get to see a little taste of what that would look like.
But yeah, ultimately, I really did enjoy Fast and Furious, the 4th movie. I really did. There's nothing else. There's nothing else I can say. These movies are very simple. They all feel a little bit different to each other, which I also kind of like. Like we said, the first movie is very much Point Break with cars. Second one is a funnier drug trafficking movie. The third one's not great, but it's weird and Japanese and fish different. Out of water.
And you might gain some more appreciation once you kind of see how they include it in the universe.
Yes, which I did say before.
So it gives you something to look forward to even more, I think.
Of course it does. But yeah, and then the 4th one is this sort of
nice balance.
Really nice balance, but you can see the signs there that it's really starting to embrace the action, and the action is great in this one. I really like the stunts in this one, and the driving and through all those tunnels, when they're driving through all those things and they crash out of the side of the cliff, and I don't know. There's also a little bit of a sweet moment there between Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, which is just because they were on this job sort of together,
and then they kind of have to come together. They were separate, but they kind of were forced to kind of come together because of everything that was happening around them and really team up. So I liked seeing them team up again and them kind of getting back to where they were before.
And then obviously they realize again that they're kind of good friends.
Yes. And like you said, the stunts were great. I really did like that first race that was testing them to see like who was going to win the race, because it was kind of like a redemption race from that first race they had.
Yeah. And
that's kind of where you get all the little callbacks and
Yeah. Paul Walker's all like, if you hadn't have cheated, I would have won that race.
Yeah, like at least I know you can't beat me straight up.
To which Vin Diesel does not dignify him with a response.
I think he says something like, "Oh well, I didn't know there were rules" or something like. Okay.
There are no rules in this family.
Well, like he says in the first movie, it don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a good quote.
It is a good quote.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a good quote. I might have to perfect my Vin Diesel impression. Because for now, I don't think it's very good.
No, it's not very good. He sounds kind of like Stallone.
Kind of, yeah, very Stallone actually, aren't I? That's more Stallone than Vin Diesel. I don't know, man. It's
yeah, it's very Stallone.
It's very that was Stallone. That was Stallone. That was me doing Stallone.
Yeah, you'll have to work on it.
I have to work on my Vin Diesel impression. Not an easy one.
No.
Not an easy voice at all. Stallone's much easier.
Yeah. You were
Just
doing it
loosen
without
up your
even
bottom
trying,
jaw.
and it sounded pretty good.
Thank you, I appreciate.
But what did
appreciate
you
that.
think, just to kind of tie it up, what did you think of the ending of this movie? So he tries to do the right thing, turns himself in,
Yeah.
basically for
And he
helping
goes-
solve this crime. Will he get some leniency? No, he will not get leniency. So they do transport him to prison, and on the way...
Yeah.
Yes.
I really like the ending with this movie, like you said. I like that I like that Dom, tries with the whole sort of, hold on, I helped bring down this huge drug lord who, in one quote in the movie, apparently is bringing in more cocaine than Pablo Escobar did, which, is that possible?
Apparently so.
But okay. Okay, Fast and Furious, you say stuff like that. But Dom Toretto, he's been on the run for years and years. That's why he's
Yes.
been in the Dominican Republic, doing these weird things at the start. But I like the ending. I like that he turns himself in, essentially, but also
Thinking he'll get some leniency for...
thinking he'll get some.
Yeah.
Doesn't get any.
Yeah. He still gets sent
And,
away. And then he has...
I almost was expecting the ending to show the breakout from that,
from the
prison bus.
Yeah.
But obviously we know it happens anyway,
Yes.
because he's in the other movies and he doesn't serve 25 to life in prison.
Yeah. So obviously. So I think that was kind of a fun little, okay, we're coming back
Yeah.
with more. And yeah, he has his friends
coming
come
back.
help break him out. Yeah. So I liked that. Kind
Right,
of cheeky.
right as the start. Didn't take them long.
No.
Didn't take them long to get together and say, Dom's travelling to prison today. Let's go.
Exactly. So I kind of liked that little cheeky, we're going to bust him out type of thing.
And I like how everybody's there as well, all the people from the Dominican Republic. Of course, minus Letty,
Yes.
who, I think Michelle... I'll go into a little bit about Michelle Rodriguez before we actually finish this and start to wrap up. But I like how all the people from the Dominican Republic crew
Come
is now
back to
with
help.
Paul Walker.
Yes.
And...
So
it's-
he's
it-
obviously
it-
not
it
meant to
does-
be a cop because he's now on the run
No.
again, I'm sure, after this.
Exactly. But I like how it sort of plants the seeds for the big team up that I know we get in 5.
Yes.
So that's really great. But, yeah, to finish off before we start to wrap up, Michelle Rodriguez, the most notable member of the Fast and Furious franchise to barely be in the movies. What's going on?
Yeah. I think she'll get more to do coming up. I mean,
obviously, I know she doesn't die.
Yeah, I think
I do know she isn't dead.
6 is kind of her big movie, I think. 6 will be her big moment, where she has a lot to do, and it's kind of centered around her. So you'll get way more of her in 6.
I think I'm just disappointed that she's not in 5 because everybody else is.
Yeah. Well, you'll get a little nice Easter egg at the end of 5.
Okay.
Which also brings back another character that we've met in the franchise.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I just think it's... maybe, again, this is an expectation problem of me thinking that Michelle Rodriguez was in every single one of these movies and I wouldn't be able to get away from Michelle Rodriguez. And sure, I like Michelle Rodriguez. I mean, I don't absolutely adore Michelle Rodriguez or anything like that. I like what she does. I like seeing her in things. But again, maybe it's this expectation thing of just being weirded out by the fact that she's in the first one,
Yeah.
barely in the fourth one, and then dies? Question mark.
So you'll see how that all plays out after 5. There'll be a nice little Easter egg to see like how that whole thing happens, and then 6 you'll really get some deep story from her and her whole thing with Dom, and yeah, that whole 6 is pretty much about her.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, that is what we're going to be talking about next week.
5 and
It's
6.
Fast 5. And what's the 6th one called?
Okay, so when they do this whole kind of opening credits montage, they say Furious 6. So I thought, okay, that's kind of fun. It's Fast
Furious
5,
6.
Fast 5, Furious 6. But then when you look it up,
Yeah.
it's called Fast and Furious 6. So, yeah.
Right, so these movies are called The Fast and the Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious, Fast 5, Fast and Furious 6, Furious 7,
Yeah.
The Fate of the Furious. And what's the 9th called?
I don't know.
Do we know yet?
Who knows? No.
I think it's better to call it Furious 6.
That's what I thought, because, yeah, I if I recall correctly, they show kind of this opening montage of them like all walking cool or whatever, and then the title comes up and it says Furious 6. So I thought, oh, that's fun. Fast 5, Furious 6. But then when you actually look up the movie, it's called Fast and Furious 6, and then 7 is called Furious 7. So I think, I don't know if I'm remembering it wrong, but I literally remember seeing in the theater that when this title came up and it's Furious 6, I remember thinking that's fun, that the last one was Fast 5 and this one's Furious 6. I remember thinking that. So maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I'm pretty sure I remember on the title it said that, but then they actually changed it, I guess maybe so they could call the 7th one Furious 7. I don't know.
Jeannine, I think the only thing we have to say, and I think it's a good place to finish off, is that the Fast and the Furious franchise is weird.
It is.
In more ways than one.
Yes.
It's timeline, it's naming, it's titles, it's everything. But hell if I'm not enjoying it.
Yay!
So I guess you're happy about that.
I am very happy about that. See, you just need to trust me. Just have some faith in me, have some trust in me, and I will not steer you wrong. I don't think I have yet.
Yeah.
What? That's all I get? Is a
Tokyo Drift.
Well, it's part of it, and it'll make sense once you see some other things. You will gain an appreciation for it.
I'm only joking.
Yeah, you better be joking.
But yeah, I guess I'm technically not halfway through the movies. This will be a 5-episode series. This is episode 2. The next one is Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6, or whatever it's actually called.
We'll see.
The one after that will be Furious 7 and Fate of the Furious, and then
our bonus will be, Hobbs and Shaw, which I'm super excited to see. It looks crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I may be more excited to see it once I've seen the rest of the movies, but I'm sure I probably will be, because I don't know who Hobbs or Shaw even is yet. I don't know who's who.
Yeah, I don't think you'll meet
The Rock's Hobbs.
Hobbs you will meet next movie. You will meet Hobbs, and I don't think you'll meet Shaw until the end of 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird franchise. But like I said, hell if I'm not enjoying it. Yeah, that's gonna do it, I think.
I think so.
It's been another fun episode, another silly episode Morgan hasn't seen, but we wouldn't have it any other way. Jeannine, what are you up to? Where can people find you? What have you got going on?
You can find me at Jeannine Dabine on Twitter and Instagram. You can check out my IT shop and get some lovely Morgan Hasn't Seen merch at G9 Design on tpublic.com. You can check out Machine Mondays, my weekly article that I write for Trivia SD about Schmodown topics. And I have a Patreon, Jeannine LC on patreon.com. You can stop on by and see what fun things I have going on over there. And see me on the Movie Trivia Schmodown on the Movie Trivia Schmodown YouTube channel as Jeannine the Machine.
And, of course, on this very show.
Yes.
forcing me to watch movies, which I'm sure you enjoy just as much as competing in the Schmodown.
Oh, yeah, it's
that's
the best.
not true.
At least here I have like some control and some power. So, yeah.
Well, I guess that is true. Maybe, I think the most important quote to take away from today's episode is Jeannine prefers Morgan hasn't seen to the Schmodown. Yay. Guys, you can find me on Twitter at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in there because, Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram at just the Purple Don. Find the show on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One. Use the hashtag Morgan Hasn't Seen to talk about this very show and the Fast and Furious goodness that we're doing right now. Follow the show on Twitter there. Subscribe and download the show on all the Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, Castbox, Google Podcasts, and the rest of them. And leave those 5-star rating reviews on the Apple Podcasts. Whether it is for this show or for It's a Wonderful Podcast. The main show on this feed, where last week we had James White on. It was me and James White talking about Double Indemnity. It was a really great episode about a truly great noir movie. I love that sort of stuff. On It's a Wonderful Podcast, Jeannine, I actually know what I'm talking about as opposed to on this show, where I'm learning everything for the first time. It's a different vibe. It's a different vibe on It's a Wonderful. If you think I'm an idiot, if you only listen to Morgan Hasn't Seen and you think I'm an idiot, I implore you to listen to It's a Wonderful Podcast. I don't come across as an idiot on that show, I don't think.
No,
Maybe you think I do.
No, not one bit. Very knowledgeable.
That's very nice.
Eloquent.
Eloquent's a bit steep. It is still me.
I think it's just the accent that just makes everything you say sound eloquent.
Well, I mean, that's just natural talent right there. I can't get away from that.
Air. You won't get any Stallone over there. Sorry, guys.
I mean, no, you probably won't get any Stallone over there, sadly. But yeah, go and check out that. It was a really great episode with James. I loved having him on. It's a Wonderful Podcast. Every Friday there's a new episode of that. Every Wednesday a new episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen. Like I said, subscribe and download this very podcast feed. Help us out. It is a lot of fun. And we will love you forever for doing it. This has been another episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen. Until next week when we're talking about what may end up being my favourite movie and is apparently everybody else's favourite movie in the Fast and Furious franchise, Fast 5. And also whatever the hell the 6th one's called because we don't know. Jeannine, let's actually try and do it at the same time this week.
Hey, we're
because
getting
it hasn't
better.
been working
we're
at
getting
all.
better. We're getting better.
No, we're getting worse. We're getting worse.
All right.
So,
all right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, no.